All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, in this one, I wanted to ask the question, does Aaron Glenn have a small leg up on the competition in regards to the New York Jets head coaching vacancy? There's a couple of reasons why I asked that question, why I think it's relevant here. Some stuff that holds weight. Yes, there is some speculation here, but you got to imagine that maybe there is a lot of truth in them. So obviously Glenn played for the Jets in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he wasn't here for all that long. It's not like he had a 15-year career with the Jets. He was ultimately scooped up pretty quickly by the Houston Texans as part of their expansion draft. But still, he knows what it takes to win. He knows what winning looks like with this football team. He's a Parcells guy, tough, physical, would never back down from a challenge. Now, I never really watched Aaron Glenn all that much growing up. I remember seeing the number on the screen, but I was like 6, 7 years old or something like that. So I couldn't really give you a solid breakdown on what I was watching. But he was a guy that a lot of the fans gravitated towards, former first round pick. He was a guy that a lot of the coaches relied on as well to make plays on the outside. So you have that former player connection, right? Think Dan Campbell with the Detroit Lions, former tight end for the Detroit Lions. It's just a pretty cool story. And you also have that familiarity of understanding the team, the organization, and the fan base and everything that comes with that. Now, you take a look at Aaron Glenn. He's going to have many, many suitors. Saints. I think right now he's the Vegas favorite to be the Chicago Bears head coach. Of course, the New York Jets. We listened to Rich Cimini talk about Aaron Glenn in the Flight Deck pod, and he said that he hasn't talked to Aaron in quite some time, but he could tell you that he's really interested, which is obviously something to bring up when you're talking about potential fits, right? Who are going to be the guys that are looking at the Jets right now, especially in this current state, and saying, hey, I would like to go there. I'm interested in sitting down, interviewing for the job, seeing what it takes. Those are the guys that I want to circle on my list and really try to hammer something out, right? Those are going to be my first callers because they have that excitement, that overall energy for the job, that positive mindset, the optimistic mindset. I like that. I don't, one thing I keep saying, oh, no one wants the Jets job. No one's going to want the Jets job, which I do disagree with. But look, if you're a coach out there, if you're Ben Johnson, if you're Mike Vrabel, and you're like, yeah, I don't want the Jets job because it's too hard or too dysfunctional, or I don't want to work with Woody. Okay, that's fine. I don't want you anyway. That's my take. The chances of someone actually coming here like that and then turning it around and having success is very, very slim. It's just extremely unlikely. So if you want to cross yourself off the list by thinking that the job is too hard or too difficult, then see ya. I don't want the Jets to waste time. Now, these next couple of points are the real reason why I felt like this video is necessary, right, to ask this question. So we look at who's running the search, who's heading this thing up. It's Mike Tannenbaum, former Jets GM, former Jets assistant GM. I mean, he really worked his way up for a long, long time within the New York Jets organization. So obviously he knows what it takes, but you look at Mike Tannenbaum's career with the Jets, again, spending all these years with one team early on. Was Aaron Glenn a part of that in any sort of fashion? The answer is yes. They were actually together from 1997 to 2001. Tannenbaum was with the Jets organization while Aaron Glenn was a player here. So there is that connection there, right? Where Tannenbaum can look back and remember how Aaron Glenn was as a player 20 plus years ago. You also take a look at Aaron Glenn's career resume. Not only does he just have a background in coaching, but he actually has a background in scouting. Where was Aaron Glenn's first job scouting? The New York Jets back in 2012. Who hired him? Mike Tannenbaum. So between these two parties, right, Glenn and the Jets, there are a lot of different connections that you can draw here. The Cimini report, the pro scout thing in 2012. There's a lot former play. There's a lot of things that you can connect. A lot of dots that you can connect. Here's the cherry on top. About 2.5 weeks ago, Chris Spielman had a sit-down interview where he talked about his responsibilities, what he's going to do to help, the Jets in this transition period, working with the 33rd team, Tannenbaum, all these different things. And he said that they are going to be taking a look at some of the same people that they looked at over in Washington for that job. Well, Aaron Glenn was a top 3 finalist to get the Commander job, obviously losing it to Dan Quinn at the end. And I think Washington made a great decision. But here is yet again another connection. So we know Glenn has been around the New York Jets before as a former player. We know he's worked with and for Mike Tannenbaum, and Tannenbaum has respect for him. We could look at the Cimini reports suggesting that Aaron Glenn's interested and, would be open to coming and being the Jets head coach. We could even look at the Chris Spielman connection, right? Aaron Glenn is, well liked across the league. Whenever you can, scoop up a former player who is a coach, I think that goes a long way with players within the locker room when talking about them with certain, about the certain things, because this guy's has walked that walk before. He's been in our shoes. I think that's I think that's extremely important. So, look, I would say right now that once January hits, I do feel as though this organization is going to make a big time press for Aaron Glenn. He just checks so many different boxes, and it seems like he passes in the eyes of so many of the decision makers for this Jets team, while at the same time really wanting this job. Now, of course, the Saints make sense, and the Saints strike me as a team that they won't go out on a major limb here. They like to play it safe. And Aaron Glenn, right, the Sean Payton coaching tree, he can build a staff. He has connections. I think Aaron Glenn could, he can make a lot of sense for that Saints head coaching job. Again, if they want to play it safe again with Mickey Loomis. Now, as far as what a potential staff could look like with the Jets, of course, Glenn can come in as head coach. I think right off the bat, the number one defensive coordinator choice should be Dennis Allen. First of all, just an intelligent defensive mind, an aggressive physical defense, right? 4-man front, man coverage, bump and run, physical corners that are not afraid to make contact. I love watching his defenses, right? I think he calls a really good game, but he obviously had a lot of limitations as head coach, right? As that leader, as someone who could help out on the offensive side of the football. But I think just as a pure defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen would be an awesome fit. To, of course, right, pick up where this Jets defense is currently at and get them to actually play mentally and physically tough. It's just not in the cards this season at all. And also, he would take a lot of the pressure off of Aaron Glenn, being that former head coach, being able to help out and give insight. And they've also worked together before in the past. I think when we take a look at offensive coordinator, this is really where you can just go in a bunch of different directions, right? You don't necessarily need someone that you've worked with before. You could, hypothetically go with an Anthony Lynn, who was in Detroit with Glenn and Dan Campbell, who's currently not with the team. You can go with a Pete Carmichael, who was the longtime Saints OC, now with the Denver Broncos. But I really don't feel as though, because Glenn is a defensive guy, I would assume that he would want to go maybe with the more veteran route with the coordinators, and also with the defense. On the defensive side of the football, he would want someone with a similar mindset and system, not someone completely different. But on offense, we could go West Coast, we could go, up-tempo, downfield attack, we could go kind of ground and pound, whatever you want to do, and just try to bring in someone that kind of complements your defense. So anyway, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think there is going to be a lot of smoke with this whole situation. I could see Aaron Glenn getting 2 interviews with the Jets and possibly something happening after that. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.